Happening now. This isn't the song I wanted to play in the background, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. We'll just handle Nick Fuentes to live and learn. It's very celebratory music for the dire topic we have to get into. Not what I wanted to do, but you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We had the requisite number of H's in the chat, so here we go. All right, Nick Fuentes. Why are we talking about Nick Fuentes? A dude's been knocked off YouTube. Dude's been knocked off D Live. Why does he matter? Well, because like a cockroach, he will always find a way to exist in some form or fashion. And currently, there is a conversation that has been happening about Matt Gaetz. Now, apparently, I'm not super informed on everything that's been going on there, but apparently there's been issues with like a minor, or at the very least somebody who's 18, and a power dynamic problem with that because the dude's 38. And I'm sorry, if you're 38 years old, obviously an 18-year-old is a consenting adult, but at the same time, there is a massive power imbalance there. You've been on this planet twice as long as that individual. Now, let's see what Nick Fuentes has to say about stuff like this. He's got some takes, we'll just say. Hey, Nick, deliver us unto evil.
Red pill take, TikTok pilled, red pilled. You know, it's like everybody was asking me, what do you think about Dixie D'Amelio? And I look her up and I'm like, she's hot. Everyone's like, she's 15, she's 15. I'm like, oh no, I was kidding, never mind. Give me a break. T comes as WTF. That's all joke, though. That's all joke.
It's all jokes. It's always all jokes. How many... So I got a question. If you are a conservative influencer on here, how many times can you hide behind it's all jokes before your audience is just supposed to not take you seriously? Why would an audience tune in to a political commentator who every single time he says something would have to hide behind it's all jokes? I just honestly, I'm curious. It's like the thing that happened with Tim Pool, where Tim Pool tried to say that, oh, now he's making all of his tweets wholly random, and there's no way of knowing if he's being serious in anything he's talking about. And, like, at that point, why would somebody tune into political commentary? Political commentary, you're supposed to be honest, at least on some level. We either want your honest opinions on political issues that are going on right now, or we want your honest takes on a particular issue. If you lie, it looks like you're grifting. It very much looks like you're grifting. Because at that point, you're espousing things that you don't really believe because the audience wants you to say them. And, I mean, yeah, there's money in that, but I don't think that's a healthy thing to do. So, Nick, please continue to justify this. You were apparently 22 at the time of making this clip. Continue to talk about 15-year-olds. Speak to me.
Look, Dixie D'Amelio, hot. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Just saying. Okay, sue me. Call me whatever you want. She's hot.
Well, so here's the thing. If you want to have that opinion, nobody can stop you from having that opinion. But, as an influencer on the internet, maybe there's a little bit of social responsibility behind telling your audience that you, as an adult, find a minor hot. Maybe there's a little responsibility you should be taking here with not saying that out loud in front of a bunch of people. Just saying. I cannot control what you're attracted to. I can't. What I can say is that this is not a take that I think you should be making, but knowing Nick Fuentes' audience, this is a take that many of them are probably perfectly willing to get behind. Because, well, I'm not going to get into that anymore. I'm just going to play more of the clip. Because, again, there are reasons why people say these things.
And you have to work your way backward from that. You know, some people, that's their approach. Some people, they'll discover something and they're like, wait a minute, but I'm not supposed to think that. I will not think that anymore. And
he says, ideally after the Catboy arc.
I'm red-pilled because I work my way backwards. I'm like, well, I know that this is true. Let's work our way backward and let's see if we can justify, you know, the standards for thought and language.
So, start off with the assumption that the 15-year-old is hot, and then work your way back to justify. We have a word for that. Aside from gross, aside from that, and yeah, the resolution's bad on the video. Sorry, I can't help that. But we have a word for that. Aside from gross, because the thing you're trying to justify is attraction to a minor, aside from gross, the other word we have for that, Nick, is confirmation bias. That's an issue. If we were to just look at the logic, don't try to figure out a way if there's a way to justify it after you've discovered it. That should be separate. Else, again, you're dealing with confirmation bias. But 144p Nick, continue to talk to us about how to justify attraction to minors, and moreover, selling that attraction to your audience, which is my biggest concern.
I'm like, let's start from this axiomatic truth that Dixie D'Amelio is hot.
Well, that wouldn't be an axiom. Attractiveness is subjective. So, no, that's not going to work.
Well, let's reverse engineer this, right? But some people don't think, they're like, Dixie D'Amelio is hot. Wait, she's 15. She cannot be hot. So, there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that.
The lesson is you're a nonce.
Ironically. Anyway. Anyway.
He as he continues to try to walk it back. Okay, so that was from a little while ago, and it, of course, was in really bad pixelation. But the Twitter user Achungus1235 has compiled a few of these. So we've got another one available here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next clip, Nick, and see what else you have to say. I'm gonna have to make sure the volume's higher on this one. Boom.
What's wrong about it?
Wait, what? Why is the volume so low? Nick. No, Nick. No. Wrong. I need that volume to be very high. Hold on. Volume mixer. Where are you? Opera Internet Browser. Aha. You go up. All right, Nick. Talk to me again.
Is that it's gay?
What? Why is it so low? Let me see if I can... Hold on. Here's what we're going to do. Music, you have to go away because you get way too loud? Try again.
Because to be...
That's as loud as we're going to be able to get it, guys. I am so sorry.
What's wrong about it is that it's gay. Because to be consistent, it's like, he's like, what, 20? And it's like, oh, and the guy's 16. Once again, is the problem really the age difference? I think the real problem is that he's gay. I think that's the real problem.
Okay, so what are we viewing here? This was a conversation around the James Charles incidents of yore. The problem in Nick's mind is not that an influencer with power and money and an age gap is using their disproportionate power against a minor. That's not his problem. His problem is not the abuse of power. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, Nick wants that kind of power. I'm comfortably saying that Nick is the type of person that desperately wants to have that kind of money, influence, and power so that he can abuse it. So, of course, his issue is not going to be the power abuse. His issue is going to be the fact that it's gay, because to him, gay people are degenerate. That's what he's going to focus on more than anything. The reason that the money and influence are important is because at a certain level of money and influence, it is hard to determine consent. Not only is it hard to determine consent, it is hard to determine informed, enthusiastic consent, where an individual is concerned. Because informed, enthusiastic consent can only come when you, as an adult, have enough understanding of the implications of any situation you find yourself in. As a 16-year-old in high school, you are not going to understand the implications of an adult in a form of power who wants to sleep with you. There are things that they can do to and around your life that you are not prepared for. And this is the way it works in almost any power dynamic issue. Now, granted, there are ways to circumvent this. I mean, one is by not being a minor. Another one is by developing a relationship with somebody that goes beyond, say, a parasocial relationship, becoming a close friend or what have you, where you can start to kind of cross those lines a little bit. But when the dividing lines are still there, and again, they're there, especially in a legal sense, when the person's a minor, you have to respect that those dividing lines are there. And no matter how much Nick wants to say the issue isn't the age is going to come down to age. A multimillionaire at age 20 has way disproportionate power compared to a 16-year-old minor. So it's almost impossible to determine informed, enthusiastic consent in a situation like that. Whereas, in a situation like gay sex, informed, enthusiastic consent is very easy to determine. Person A goes, hey, I like you. Person B goes, I like you too. Person A goes, okay, I do not want you up my butt. And they go, that's fine, I want you up mine. Boom. Conversation over, and consent was enthusiastic. They go to the bed and have a frolicking good time. This obviously only works with gay men, and I don't know why that's the thing on my mind. Thanks, Nick. You catboy enthusiast.
To be frank, to tell you the truth, 15's young, though. 15 is young. That one's bad, I would say. I think that's probably crossing the line of too young. But I think most of the cases...
15 is too young, he says after the last clip.
It's like 17, 16... You know, I'm not gonna complain if James Charles is getting canceled, because that's how that goes. but I think the problem is more, like I said, it's the homosexuality, not 17, 16, 16 and 15. I guess that's a little young, but he's a young guy too. So I know people are not gonna like me saying that, but
no, your audience is going to love you saying that, Nick. They are desperate for justifying their own wants to abuse power. Trust me. If any of y'all have ever dealt with the Groyper mob, dear God, I have never met a larger group, or not larger, but a more virulent group of tiny dick energy desperately trying to claim power and fame. Trust me, Nick. Your audience is not going to hate you for saying that. They want that.
I mean, okay, the guy's like, what, 20, I think? And, somebody's 17 or even 16. Now, if you're 30 and a girl is 16 or a guy is 16, maybe that's not appropriate.
But why is it not appropriate, Nick? I would say it's not appropriate because there's a disproportionate amount of money and power involved. It is impossible to determine consent because enthusiastic, informed consent requires the ability to become informed on the social and financial and other ramifications of that person and you sleeping together. And quite frankly, I would be incredibly impressed if a 16-year-old was able to give me all of those at once when justifying why it's okay for them to be with a 30 or a 40 or a 50-year-old. I would be thoroughly impressed. I would. It doesn't mean that I would think that it's still an okay thing to do. But I cannot tell where consent is because of the power imbalance. I don't think you can either. But again, for people like Nick, it's not so much that the lack of consent is a problem for them. For them, that's a feature, not a bug.
But that's pretty close in proximity. Once again, just like with Matt Gaetz, I don't think the problem is the age gap. I think the problem is that it's gay. But ultimately, though...
Talking about Matt Gaetz here as well, the issue is that it's gay. His problem is not that a minor is in trouble. His problem is that a person is engaging in gay sex. Again, something that is entirely able to be consensual, with whole, informed, enthusiastic consent. I don't know why this is the sticking point. I don't. I can understand to a small degree if the sticking point is gay sex, because for them, you know, there can be no greater evil or what have you, or any of that shit. I could get that if we're going with the religious indoctrination angle, but these people try very, very hard to push the gay is bad conversation, and they try to push it very, very far, and I don't understand why. Like, what is it about gay sex, or just gay people existing, that bothers you? If you're a homophobe, or a groiper, or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself in the chat, or if you're in my you know, comment section after this video, please let me know, what is it about gay people that upsets you? Because I'm genuinely curious. Because I used to have a problem with it back when I was a conservative Christian, back when I was, you know, under 18, and I had my indoctrination from Pensacola Christian Academy, and I was running with that. Yeah, at that point, I had a problem with it. But my justifications as to why I had a problem with it always fell flat. And I got called out by my friend group, thankfully. And that caused me to reevaluate myself and realize, no, wait, no, I'm actually a homophobe. No, you're right. That's stupid. That's bad of me. I still can name the friend who called me out on it. Hell, I could call them right now, but I'm not going to do that on stream. Point is, I'd be very curious to see how that point is actually articulated. But speaking of articulating points, Nick, continue to justify why it's okay for minors to sleep with adults and for those adults to wield disproportionate power, and continue to smokescreen that the problem is that it's gay and not that consent cannot be determined.
As far as this is concerned, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, just the tip of the iceberg with these people, because, you know.
Just the tip of the iceberg with you as well. How many loop-de-loops does a man have to go through justifying sex with a minor before you start wondering, wait, is this only the tip of the iceberg?
They're all like this. They're all like this. They're all grooming. They're all into this pedophilia type stuff.
Wait, all gay people are groomers? How? How would you get to that conclusion? Again, this is one of those things that I would like to hear justified by somebody. How do you get to the conclusion that all gay people are groomers? What is the association between gay sex and abusing minors? Because I don't see it. That's not really a feature of just liking the same sex at all. Let's also point out, just for shits and giggles, that Nick says that he is a traditional Catholic, from what I understand. And, well, I guess there's other reasons why he's okay with abusing minors.
But I gotta say, I can't start out the show and say, look, Matt Gaetz is, the age gap is a non-issue, or shouldn't be illegal, it shouldn't be a big problem, and then say, oh my gosh, 20 and 16, stop the presses. The real problem is that it's gay. I think that's a real problem, to tell you the truth.
Again, so with Matt Gaetz, from what I understand, the 18-year-old is female. So I don't know if that factors in as much here. Like I said, I'm not as super well informed on that particular issue. I'm mainly just analyzing Nick's rhetoric here and the things that he's engaging in apologia for. But no, Nick, the entire issue is that a minor is being abused. Like, that's the issue. At the end of the day, the issue is that a minor is involved. There's nothing wrong with it being gay. Nothing wrong with being gay. The issue is that a minor is getting hurt. That's it.
Maybe we as a society need to rethink what constitutes moral sexuality. Because we live in a society where age of consent law is the gospel. Age of consent law, if you violate that, crucify the man. Female teachers are having sex with middle school boys all the time. Nobody cares about that.
Wait, nobody cares about female teachers abusing okay, so there's an angle to this I actually need to tackle. Okay, so here's what's happening with that particular conversation, as I've seen it happen on places like Twitter and other cesspools of the internet. There are people who I would say are very politically aligned with groypers who have the opinion that they would have loved their teacher to sexually assault them when they were a child. That would have been the dream for them. But again, it's impossible for them to really know what the whole social ramifications would have been for that. So they don't meet the criteria for informed, enthusiastic consent. But that doesn't mean that nobody cares. I'm still going to look at that conversation and go, wait, hold on. It doesn't matter that the minor was male and that the adult was female. That's still an abuse of power. The teacher wields a disproportionate amount of power, and the minor has no power in this conversation. At what point can we determine that consent was even had? I don't think we can. So I will call out female teachers, and have done so when that conversation comes up on Twitter, and have gotten into fights with people where they've tried to argue that they wanted to be sexually assaulted, so everybody must have wanted to. Again, the mere fact, even if I were to take them on their word in that particular conversation, wholly and entirely, at no point does I wanted to be sexually assaulted mean other people necessarily wanted to as well. 70 Wilson also points in the chat, the last case of this happening that we know of, apparently teacher lost her job and was being prosecuted. Again, people do care about this. But Nick's audience, here's the thing though. Nick's audience, an audience of people who feel like they don't have power but want to wield power, desperately want their group of in people to have power so that they can have it and abuse it and control people, not to actually engage in good faith or do good things for other people. They're going to soak that narrative up. They're going to hear that, oh, it's okay for me to abuse power. It's okay for a teacher to abuse power. It's okay to do all these things. What's not okay in their minds is, well, being gay. But we'll continue the clip. Come on, Nick. Continue to speak dirty words to me.
But it's a large age gap between an older man and a younger girl, God forbid. But homosexuality and trans and in between and this and that, no, but that's all.
There's not an in between homosexuality and trans. Those are two categorically separate issues, Nick. Homosexuality is what is about your attraction. Being trans is about your identity. There is overlap between these things, but there's not an in-between them because they are categorically separate things. But deliberately missing the point, moreover, having an audience that will celebrate you deliberately missing the point is kind of your whole shtick.
Perfectly okay. I think society that we live in has to rethink a little bit what they believe is moral and immoral sexuality. Large age gap, 17, I don't know that that's really a world-shattering, terrible thing. I don't even know that it's necessarily immoral, other than that it was premarital. If Matt Gaetz had married her, I'd say, well...
So, let me go ahead and say this. This is even worse. And here's the reason why. Nick, what you need to understand is what you just said in that statement was that had Matt Gaetz married her, so had you taken somebody, let's say this person's 17, as you gave in your example, if a 38-year-old person with disproportionate power, influence, wealth, married someone, so they put them into a legally binding contract that they cannot escape without severe financial ramifications to themselves, had he married her, had he forced her into a legally binding contract, or she said yes to it, but again, the lines of consent are very blurry, then it would be okay. That does not make it better, Nick. Trapping a minor in an abusive contract does not make an abusive power dynamic suddenly less abusive. Nick Fuentes' problem is being Nick Fuentes. You're right. Being Nick Fuentes is terminal.
If he married her with her consent and the consent of the parents, this is completely moral.
The consent of the parents doesn't matter. The parents don't own her fucking body. And again, her consent as a minor should not matter at all in this either, because we cannot determine the consent. the contract should not be allowed to be drawn up so long as she is a minor, because that informed, enthusiastic consent is impossible to reach. I want you to consider what your view of marriage is as a 30-year-old. Let's say you're a 30-year-old. What is your view of marriage? Because for me, as a 29-year-old, marriage is a legally binding, dangerous contract that is taken at risk of you and the person that you are signing it with. Now, there are several societal implications to marriage, and there are several benefits to marriage, but at the end of the day, it is a legally binding contract that is dangerous to engage in without information, without proper information. Okay. A relationship also has dangers, but you could leave a relationship merely by saying, I'm done. You can't leave a marriage merely by saying, I'm done. Anybody who's gone through divorce can tell you that. So my question to you, if you're a minor, or you remember what your thought process was like when you were a minor, what was your view of marriage? Was it some magical, wonderful way for you to maybe even escape your parents and then go and start your life with the Prince Charming? And then what's your view on it as an informed adult? Is it closer to the legally binding contract where all of the wonderful frills are more society's implications on those, and most of the benefits aside from tax and visitations can be garnered merely by just being in a relationship common law style? That's not entirely accurate. There are, again, other implications where marriage is concerned. And I'm not trying to downplay anything where people have fought for marriage rights, for instance, because unlike Nick, I'm not a homophobe. But to me, again, marriage is a legally binding contract between two consenting individuals. A minor does not meet the criteria for that, so therefore, child marriage bad. Don't. But, let me know in the comment section. What was your view on marriage as an adult? Ideally, an adult with a few years under your belt. Versus what was your idea of marriage as a minor? Let me know. And that would be incredibly helpful. By the way, if you are a minor, don't tell me you're a minor in the chat or in the comment section. I don't know, nor do I care to know. But I do want the information at the very least. What was it like? What was your thought process like at that point? Because again, unlike Nick, I don't care about minors. Fucking didn't realize I had a opportunity for a jab there, but I decided to take it. Timing is everything, and I failed it.
It's very traditional, and honestly, this is how it always used to be. But
traditionalism is not an argument. It is actually a fallacy.
What you're supposed to do, I guess, is go to college, have lots and lots of sex, and experiment and do drugs, and go on your careers, and then you're supposed to get married at like 32 or something, right? I guess that's a moral way.
It's not that that's a moral way, it's that that's a way that allows you to experience your life and then settle down when you have been, I guess, adequately seasoned is the best way to put it. I'm not saying anybody needs to go do drugs. I'm fully straight edge. I don't drink, I don't do drugs or anything like that. But if somebody wants to do that with their time and experiment, go on in. Do your thing. Just don't hurt anybody, don't hurt yourself. Same thing with sex. Go have group sex if you want to. It's fun. Can speak from experience, but don't base your entire life around it, I guess. I mean, unless you're a swinger, in which case I guess it is kind of an identifying part of your life. Anyway, I'm getting lost in the weeds here. Point is, go do the things that make you happy. But when you settle down with somebody, if you choose to, make sure that that's a thing that makes you happy as well. Societal expectations are stupid. Tradition's stupid. It exists for a reason, but it's also dumb. What does fallacy mean? A fallacy is basically a hiccup in informal logic. It doesn't mean something is immediately wrong. Like, some traditions can be right. Like, traditions can be perfectly okay. But an argument from tradition is me saying this is right because it's traditional. And as a fallacy, it means that when I say something is correct, i.e. it adheres to truth, and I try to justify that by saying it's because it's traditional, that's why it's correct, I am engaging in a fallacy, because tradition does not make something true. We have traditions that are aligned with truth and traditions that are not aligned with truth. if I were to say that something is right because a lot of people believe it. Well, the fact that a lot of people believe in something doesn't make something right. Please look to old theories on flat Earth and shit for that. A lot of people believing in something just means that a lot of people believe it. Full stop. That's it. The fallacy comes in when I say that it's true because people believe it's right. That fallacy is argumentum ad populum. So, like I said, a fallacy is just a hiccup in informal logic. That's all it is. If you try to say something is true because of X, and X is not actually a determining factor for why something's true, that's a fallacy.
Anyway, so that's my first reaction as I see that, and I put it on Twitter. I said 17, so what? Who cares? My other reaction is this. I don't believe the FBI. I don't believe the DOJ about anything.
Okay. Well, that's where that clip ends. I wonder what he doesn't believe the FBI about. I mean, I'm not saying believe the FBI about everything either. I'm just curious as to what that's about. And then that is the end of the clips we have for Nick Fuentes there. If somebody knows the entire... Oh, wait, hold on. No, there's actually a little bit more here. There's a little bit more. Come on, Nick. Continue to speak words to me that make me desperately, desperately want to be done with life.
Yeah, I think you lose me a little bit on that one. So, even if it were true, I would say, I don't know if that's a crime. I don't know if I'm ready to say, oh, run this guy out of town. It's more offensive to me that Matt Gaetz is in favor of weed legalization and gay adoption than it is that he was involved in a relationship with a large age gap. It's more offensive to me that there are open homosexuals running for office and just in society, in front of everybody, in front of children.
So let's break that apart real quick, okay? We got a couple things there. So, what's wrong with gay adoption? Can somebody in the chat please explain to me what's wrong with gay adoption? Because I fail to see an issue. Two adults take on a child. The only thing that I can see is there's two angles. Either he's trying to work the original angle that he used in a previous clip, which was that gay people have a predilection for being predators, as he justifies predatory behavior between adults and minors. Regardless, either he has to keep writing that grift in order to get to the conclusion that gay people shouldn't be able to adopt, or he has to be writing the traditionalism grift where you go, well, everybody deserves a mommy and a daddy. Those are the only two angles I can see him really, really going for there. Alternatively, it could be an extrapolation on when somebody says that they don't want their kids seeing gay relationships, and so if you are a gay relationship, and I just made it sound like you're a gem from Steven Universe. All right, Garnet raises children, everybody. The gay relationship has raised Steven. Anywho, if you're in a gay relationship and you're raising a child, then you are necessarily subjecting that child to the gay relationship, and one of Nick's axioms is that gay relationships are wrong, so you are subjecting a child to debauchery. Basically, this is if that is the case, then this is Nick coming to a conclusion based on a failed axiom. Because to him, gay people being the devil is axiomatic, and he even uses that language. That's the language he used in the previous clip. He views these things as underlying foundational principles, which are how we base things when we're trying to develop things like epistemology and logic and morality. This runs very counterintuitively, though, because if you have any ideology based off of shitty axioms are just your presuppositions. Any ideology based on shitty axioms, or an axiom that can't be proven, or anything like that, just it runs into problems. It's the same problem you get with like presuppositionalist theism, when they put one of their presuppositions being God exists. Okay, cool. How are we going to have a conversation about this when one of your underlying axioms, one of your foundations for truth, is the existence of this thing that we can't prove? This is why you don't put it as an axiom. This needs to be a premise or a conclusion. You can't run it as an axiom. I'm so stuck. I'm so stuck on this point about logic now. I am in the weeds. Oh dear. Oh dear. Also, we have a wonderful article that has been submitted by Pixie Explains real quick. What does the scholarly research say about the well-being of children with gay or lesbian parents? Oh, almost like we have something to immediately smack Nick Fuentes in the head with. The overview, as we don't have time to go into the entire study, but the overview is we identified 79 scholarly studies that met our criteria for adding to knowledge about well-beings in children with gay or lesbian parents. So not a single study, this is a meta-analysis. Of those studies, 75 concluded that children with gay or lesbian parents fare no worse than other children. While many of the sample sizes were small and some of the studies lacked a control group, researchers regard such studies as proving the best available knowledge about child adjustment and do not view large representative samples as essential. And again, this is why they identified 79 scholarly studies to work with, and even though a few of them did not necessarily come to the conclusions that they needed, the overwhelming majority did. That's as far as we'll go into there, but there is a link in the chat if you would like to research further on that, and I will try to remember to toss this link into the description of the video so that you can read further in there as well. So, again, I'm stuck on this axiom thing. I hate that I'm stuck on this. Screw philosophy. I love philosophy. Fuck philosophy. Nick, you have 30 more seconds to convince me that it's okay to abuse a minor. Go.
It's more offensive to me that you've got trannies and drag queens and all kinds of other freak things going on.
5 seconds in and you're already not being very convincing because you are engaging in ad hominem at this point. So, what is happening here, aside from, again, a massive ad hominem attack, which is not super productive? He's offended that trans people exist, and he says as much right there. And cool, if that's the case, every trans person in my audience, can you do me a favor? Just exist. If you're trans and you're in my audience, or you're homosexual and you're in my audience, either or both, do me a favor, just exist. Because your existence is upsetting a bigot. You merely existing is making Nick Fuentes uncomfortable. And you know what? I'm here for it. Continue existing. Fuck up his life. Exist out of spite. Just like when I've got extra money, I commission artists out of spite. Whenever I see those messages about people, like, complaining about their commissions or shit like that, do the same thing, but with your existence. Exist out of pure spite for Nicholas J. Fuentes. Do it. I implore you.
I think feminism is more offensive than a large age gap.
He's more okay with abusing minors than he is with women having rights. That's at least consistent.
Large age gap is traditional, and 18-year age of consent, that is very modern, and it is very much a feminist agenda.
Now remember, as we pointed out earlier, arguments from traditionalism are in fact fallacies. They don't get us anywhere. They say nothing about what's true, nor what's normative. Normative being things we should strive for. But they're the only things that Nick can stand on. This is a person who was born in the wrong decade. This is a man who wishes desperately he was born in the 30s so that he could have adulthood in the 50s and abuse minors and minorities. That's the things that Nick Fuentes wants. He wants that kind of world. And he doesn't exist in that kind of world right now. And that's what really upsets him.
I'm just putting that out there. I'm giving a little bit of historical context. I think that's honestly the real conservative position on this stuff. You're really not based if you disagree. Because I see some people saying, oh, he's a pedophile.
Wait, did you just unironic? Okay, I'm gonna wholeheartedly honest with y'all. Okay? I am friends with Xander Hall. Xander Hall's my friend. Okay? There is a thing that he said like 2 years ago on a video of mine that I disagreed with, but now Nick Fuentes is here making me agree with it, and I'm not happy about that. It was a point that he made. It was made in jest, mind you, but it was that all conservatives are pedophiles. And this was made 2 years ago, and it was a broad brushstroke thing, and he's better about shit like that now. But at the time, I was like, I don't really agree with that. That's a hasty generalization. But now here's Nick going, no. The real conservatives are pedophiles. And I don't know how to feel about that. Those words literally just leaked out of the orifice he calls a mouth. I'm gonna send Xander Hall that. I'm gonna have to send him a message and just be like, so you know that time we disagreed on that one point about and then apparently Nick Fuentes thinks that you have to be a pedophile to be based. Apparently. Oh dear lord. Oh, I'm gonna scream. No, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. We have to. God damn it, Xander Hall. God damn it, you were right. At least if we accept that Nick Fuentes speaks for all... We don't accept Nick Fuentes speaks for all conservatives. But if we did, we would naturally come to this conclusion now. And I hate that so much. Oh my god. I'm gonna scream. Somebody give me something in the live chat or in the comment section that makes me not want to bash my head into a wall. I want my brain fluids to leak so that I can forget the words I have heard. That's it, everybody. Check the description if you want to support me. Please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, all that other fun stuff. Please check me out over on twitch.com/NekoSuris for other types of streams. Please check out my gaming channel, which is also called NekoSuris, if you'd like to see my gaming content. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here. I'm gonna go scream.